Okay, guys, we're going to dive right into this. I am here with Chrissy Taylor from the Taylor House. How are you, Chrissy?
Good. How are you?
Very good. So excited to finally get you on. So I talk about you probably in just about every single episode. I don't know if you realize that or not, but this is the infamous Chrissy that I'm always talking about. So I'm really excited for you guys to get to know her a little bit better and to answer some questions that you have. We're going to be talking a little bit more about traveling. As a blogger, Chrissy has had a ton of experience in that, and we're going to get more into that. She has a great a download for you as well. But the first thing that I kind of like to ask everybody is, I just want you to tell us a little bit about your business and your previous experience before your online presence was created.
Sure. So I've been blogging for, what did we say, about 6 years? Because it's been about the same amount of time.
Yes.
The Taylor House is my main blog, and I blog a lot about food and travel. Some other stuff, but those are the two main things that I blog about. And I've been doing that, like I said, for about 6 years. And before that, I stayed home with my kids. I started a blog when they went to school because I needed something to do, and I wasn't going to go work a real job.
Right.
I wanted to create something that I could control my own hours. And then before that, I was a nurse. So I have no background in journalism, social media, any of this stuff that we do. It was all kind of learned along the way. So that's kind of the gist of me and what I did before blogging and then when blogging started for me.
So I know you really well, but what would you say is the toughest part about being an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. Never being able to go home from the office because the office is at home.
Yes.
It's always there, which is good and bad. You can take it with you. You can do it whenever. You can get up in the middle of the night and work if you have a sick kid during the day. It's great, but then it's not great because it's always there and you can't turn it off. I think it's very hard to balance the two.
Absolutely. I think technology has made it even more difficult with that. But I mean, for example, we obviously all have our cell phones, but now there's even things that go on our wrist. Like Joe convinced me to get an Apple Watch, and I held out for the longest time because I'm like, no, I don't want someone to have access to me on my wrist. I actually do love it now, but in the beginning, that was my holdup because it is hard to turn it off and turn it on. And I know also, like, being a mom of two, I want to say little boys, but they're not little boys.
They're big boys. They're big boys.
I keep seeing pictures of them, like, one of them is driving now, isn't he?
Yes, 14. Joey has a car.
Crazy. Oh my goodness. So crazy.
I agree. Just yesterday, I found this app for my phone that monitors how much time that I am on my phone. And it tells me how many times I pick it up and look at it and how many hours I'm on it a day. And yesterday was the first day I downloaded this app. So, of course, I was like, I'm not going to be on it at all. I'm beating this thing.
Right.
And then... So it was like 17 minutes on my phone. Of course, I downloaded it like 9 o'clock last night. But so we'll see what happens today. I think it's going to be hours.
Oh, I'd be afraid. So do you know what the name of that app is? Because I'm sure I have listeners that would probably want to know. And if you don't, I'll get it from you afterwards. We can always put it in the show notes. We'll make sure that's there.
It's
perfect.
Called Moment.
Okay.
So.
That would be a definite issue for me. I'm pretty sure it would definitely be hours, if not days.
But I think just having it is kind of making me like think about, well, this is going to get tracked. Do I really need to look?
That's good. It's kind of like tracking your food because I'm in that process of like counting calories. So I'm like, I'm not eating that because I have to write that down. And my trainer's totally going to see this and yell at me. Yes. Oh my goodness. Exactly. I love that.
Same thing.
Absolutely. All right. So tell us some of the amazing places that you've traveled with brands for.
Okay. So a lot of places around the U.S. I've done that they're still really cool, like Destin, Florida and St. Louis. And we've been to California and I know a lot of different places around here. But last year we went on a 2-week cruise through Europe. We started in Paris and ended in Prague, and we hit all these castles along the river, and it was the most beautiful trip I think I've ever been on. There was so many things to do. And I had pitched for that trip. So, and I got to take my husband along. And then my other big one was our Alaska cruise. That was a 9-day cruise to Alaska. And I don't know, they were both amazing trips, but I think those are my two favorite that I've done. And so I think that if you can ever go to those places, you have to go there.
So now when you say that you pitched them, they didn't reach out to you. It was something that
Nope.
Okay. So for example, who was it that you reached out to for the cruise that was in Europe?
Okay, so let me just clarify. So that one I pitched, the Alaska one, they found me. So the Europe cruise, I pitched Viking Cruises. And I searched their website for a contact, and I just sent a pitch email and told them, kind of what I was thinking. Because I do food. So I wanted to kind of focus on food on the travel and pitch the idea, and it ended up working out. So,
okay,
yes.
I love that. So now when you pitch someone, are you in the first email telling them what it is you're going to do for them in return for compensation for the cruise or whatever it might be?
I don't get into every single detail, but I tell them, I have an idea that's kind of travel food based, and ask about sending them my proposal or sending them my ideas to see if it'll work out. So I don't give it to them all up front, because you just never know. Like, if it's not going to work out, are they going to take that idea and run with it somewhere else? Because I think we have good ideas, right? I think we have some good ideas, and I always fear for that. So I don't give it to them all up front. I just give them a little bit to get them interested and want to come back and negotiate something.
And that's actually what we have today for everyone for their free download and your actual pitch email of what you send to these travel places.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Now, so it was the cruise line for that. Where else do you reach out? Like, who are you reaching out to? Are you reaching out to hotels? So let's say you stay within the U.S., because we have a lot of listeners that are families that are, looking to take their kids on vacation and don't necessarily want to pay for it. So who do you reach out to?
Absolutely. So I always start with the Visitors Bureau, the Travel Bureau in the city, the state, wherever that I want to go, or I have a trip planned. And so I start there. A lot of times they will give you the hotel contacts and the contacts for restaurants and the contacts for like activities and that kind of thing. If they don't, then I'll start going to individual hotels and pitching them. So I usually that's how I start with the Travel Bureau.
And you normally find it like by just Googling like Chamber of Commerce or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like if it were like, I don't know, Minneapolis Visitors Bureau or Minneapolis Travel Bureau. And it always comes up at the top. So.
Right. So it's easy enough to find. Now, do you feel that there are specific like social media platforms that you absolutely have to have in order to do travel?
I have found Twitter is huge and Instagram is huge.
It boggles my mind that Twitter is still huge, because obviously with my Working with Brands course, that's what we talk about. Is I use Twitter a lot of times to contact the brands. And it's amazing to people, because I feel like everyone feels like, oh, Twitter is dying. Twitter doesn't drive any traffic. But when it comes to travel and working with brands, it absolutely does.
It totally does. I mean, it's exactly the same as for sponsored posts. I would do the same thing. I would go to Twitter. If I can't find an email or a contact, I would go to Twitter. They're just over there. All the brands are on there. And, I mean, it still works for them. So,
do you have a theory on why that is? Because I always kind of I wonder what it is that keeps them. Is it the fact that they can get tagged, or that they feel like they get good stats over there from, like, impressions?
I do. I think they get a lot of impressions. Like, I did a press trip. When was it? Last year, and I think there was like 6 bloggers, and we primarily did Twitter on this trip, and I remember that we got like 22 million impressions. Our goal was 2 million, and we had 22 million impressions. So I think maybe that is like, the stats are so big for them.
Okay.
I don't know if that converts for them, if that brings in buyers or, I'm not really sure, but I think the stats are pretty big over there. So I would guess that's why they use it.
Right. And then Instagram, obviously, because it can have
Honestly,
the pictures. Now,
yes.
You didn't always do travel. So how did you start to
No.
incorporate it into your Instagram feed?
Well, so two things. I just started taking pictures. Whenever we went on trips, I would take pictures, and I worked on editing my pictures and trying to make them look good on Instagram. And my followers over there like my travel stuff. I think that sometimes they do better than my food, which makes me a little bit sad, but it's good. But then I decided to start a separate travel Instagram page. So it's just dedicated to travel. It's just a travel Instagram. That's all I post are my trips. And so I use that. And that has taken off quite a bit. I just started it I don't know, maybe in January. And we have 3,000 followers, which is, pretty good since I post once or twice a week.
Right. No, that's excellent. I bet you it has something to do because you always have a look to your travel photos. It has that almost a different color that's kind of I always know when it's yours. I don't even have to look to see if it's you. I know that it's yours because it's very noticeable. What is it it's the editing tools that you're using.
The editing, yeah. Every time my son sees one of my pictures that I've done, he's always like, you used Snapseed, didn't you? Because that's what I used to edit. I'm like, yes. And even he has started editing his photos with Snapseed, and he's doing so good. I think he could probably take over for me, but...
That is awesome. Oh my goodness, I love that. All right. So now, what do you look to deliver when you travel? Is there specifics?
So when I am pitching and kind of in that negotiation phase, I have a focus of what I'm going to talk about on the trip.
So kind of like a theme?
Yes. Okay. So am I going to focus on spring break activities for kids, or am I going to focus on the 10 best hamburgers in Minneapolis, or whatever it is? I usually have a pretty specific something that I want to write about and focus on. And I'll pitch them that idea when I send my proposal. And so then I try to focus on that. And then I try my best to do good photos on Instagram. So I get a lot of interaction and likes, and Facebook, Twitter, same thing. I just really try to make a good post that gets pinned so it does well on Pinterest. I don't know. Did this answer your question?
Yes, no, it definitely does. So you pretty much, no, you're totally fine. You do a total post, and then you also have the social media that goes along with it. What about live streaming? Because obviously everybody's talking about, everybody wants video. Everything is about video now, especially on Facebook.
They do. Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
So I'm just breaking into that area. I would do stories on Instagram and Snapchat. I would do those kinds of things. We don't do a lot of live, but I absolutely am seeing so many travel bloggers that do live that I think that's a huge benefit that, I think we need to break into that and start working on it.
My concern is always the internet connection because it can be unreliable at places, especially if you're going on a cruise in Europe or you're in Costa Rica, wherever it may be.
I completely agree.
Yes.
And I don't know if there's a way around that somehow, or if you can do, maybe live up to before you leave, I don't know, packing your suitcase or how to pack a carry-on. I have no idea. Maybe there's some ways you can do it without having to worry about the connection.
Right.
Or just do video that you can edit when you get back. I think that's big too.
Yep, that makes sense. So even if you could do, because Snapchat, you don't necessarily have to be online to have internet connection. So you could probably put it together as a memory and then be able to produce it that way, maybe into a movie.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That totally makes sense.
Good idea. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, what else do you find is really specific that you need to be able to get them to kind of agree to it? So let's say, for example, I know that was kind of convoluted. So let me try again. When you are reaching out to them, is there something specific that you let them know that you're expecting to be able to go on the trip for free? Because I think a lot of times when people are reaching out, they kind of, we have a tendency to like in and out and not come out and be just blunt about what it is that we're asking for.
Right. So I think it's absolutely difficult to request to get paid and get a free trip. I think that has only happened for me a couple times. But I agree. I kind of feel like some bloggers don't get to the point. Like, what are you, tell them what you're emailing for. Tell them you're not going to do it for free. So, okay, maybe if you're going to go on this trip anyway, no matter what this brand says to you, whatever this travel bureau says, you're going to go do this anyway, and you want to do it for free, I don't know, ice cream cones? I don't know, whatever it might be.
Right.
Like, that's totally cool. I've done it. Like, we've all done that. If you are actually planning to take this trip because you just want to write, you're not going to do it anyway, then you need to make sure you're very specific in that email that you want to trade a blog post, social media in exchange for a comped hotel room or whatever it might be, a cruise. I mean, I know that's a big item to ask for, but obviously it happens. They say yes. They say yes to bloggers all the time. So just make sure that you do put in there what you want.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to end up getting you're going to end up paying to work all the time. You're going to end up paying to go on these trips. And if you want, like I said, if you want to do it anyway, like, go for it. Just do, like, whatever happens, but.
Right. And I think sometimes, too, it's a nice way to be able to go on that family trip that you're already planning on, reach out to them if they're not going to do it. It's a way to introduce travel into your site so that you can show that you do travel on your site.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
So now if it's a larger trip, something like the cruise, do you kind of try to say, okay, what's the value of the trip and what is it that I would normally charge? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So for the Viking cruise that we went on, I had to pay my husband's airfare. So my airfare was covered and both of our cruises were covered, but I had to pay for our airfare. But when I broke it down, it was like the value of it was several blog posts. It was a very high value trip. So for me to pay for that, airfare for him was no big deal. And I did 2 blog posts for him and I did social media while I was there. So.
Okay. That was, I think, kind of what I was looking for, too, is to kind of see if it was 2 blog posts, 3 blog posts. Do you think that is a way to do it so that you can kind of, because I think all of us at this point kind of have an idea of what our sponsored post rate is if we're reaching out for travel. So to be able to say to them, okay, well, this is obviously much larger than what I would normally charge, so I can do 2 posts or 3 posts.
Right. And I do. I want to make it fair for them. I want them to, that's the whole thing. I want them to get value from what I'm doing. Otherwise, they're not going to work with you down the road if I did a crappy job. You know what I mean? We want to continue the blogger relationship with these brands. So, and I also think that you have to follow through. I know once the trip is like done and over and you go home, and it would be easy to just not write that post, but you have to. Like, if you've committed to it, you have got to write the post and you have got to follow through with what you commit.
Right.
Just like a sponsored post.
Right. And do you also do the follow-up of, like, giving them their impressions and the tweets or the Instagram posts? Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that's so key.
I do. I know that a lot of bloggers say, well, they have the hashtag and they track it and they pull the impressions anyway, but I just feel like it's just that extra little step that not all bloggers do, and it just makes you stand out from the rest.
Yes. So I totally agree that is actually part of working with brands course. Is that follow-up is huge. It's a huge module that's in there because it does make that difference so that you can have long-term contracts. And if it is something where you're working with Princess Cruises, they don't just do the European cruises. They have other cruises that go different places. Like, that's how it started for you was with Alaska, right? Their Princess Cruises in Alaska?
It was. Yep. That was the Alaska trip. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then that was the first cruise I ever went on, and I just loved it. So I was like, I'm going to do more of this.
Right. Who wouldn't? Of course.
I know. Right. Yes.
Oh, I love that. Yes. So a lot of my audience, I think, is trying to move into that travel aspect. what would be like some key things that they need to do if they are not there yet with the travel, but they want to kind of try to trickle it in? What would be like the first place to start? Would it be social media? Would it be a post? What would it be, you think?
So what I tell people is to, if you're going on vacation, like take pictures and write a post. Like just do it. Like so if you're going to go to a brand or a travel bureau and you're going to pitch, I want to do this trip. This is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. The first thing they're going to do is go to your blog, and they're going to try to see other travel stuff that you've done in the past. And if you don't have anything there for them to look at, it's going to be harder to get that job. So if you are going, whatever, camping with your kids this weekend, like take some pictures of the river or them around the campfire, whatever it is, and flip that into a travel post and get it up on your site. Make sure that you have a tab at the top that says travel, or you have a category or a tag or some way for those companies to search and find the posts that you've done. I just think that you need to show what you can do before they're going to be willing to put money into you.
And I also feel that, no, it totally does. And I think it also is key that they kind of stay within their niche. So you and I are kind of lifestyles, so we're able to get away with a little bit of parenting, a little bit of hacks, a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of food.
Right.
But a lot of people are very niche specific. So if they're food-based, I feel like wouldn't you think it still needs to be tied to the food?
Absolutely. So, yeah. So maybe if you go camping, it's the campfire desserts that you make or whatever. You can tie that together. Or if you do kids' activities, like maybe, I don't know, activities that you do camping or road trip stuff you do in the car, or, just make sure that absolutely. You can't go too far out of your niche. Otherwise, your followers aren't going to know what you're doing. And that post is not going to perform well because they're going to be like, what the heck? We came over here for, a kid's activity, and you're talking about the 10 hamburgers you got, I don't know, whatever. It just has to fit into what you write about.
And do you also include your newsletter as part of like your proposal, what you're going to be using?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that would be definitely key if you don't stay within your niche, because you're going to send out a newsletter and it's going to be all over the place. So
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Love that. Okay. All right. So one of the questions that I always ask, and I'm going to totally put you on the spot, and you're going to love me for it, are what are your projections for the rest of 2017? What do you see in our industry kind of becoming bigger and probably more? A lot of my audience obviously is thinking about income-wise. What are ways that they can bring in more money? So what do you think? What are your projections?
I think because it's so saturated, there are so many bloggers, you have to stand out. You have to think out of the box. Like, what can you do that everybody else isn't doing? Maybe it is Facebook Live. Maybe you need to do, a live travel show, or maybe you just need to think outside the box of ways that you can make income that other people aren't. Yes. I mean, maybe you need to do like a travel, some kind of printables, or I don't know, but just try to think of something that everybody else isn't doing, because like I said, I just feel like there's so many of us, and we're there's enough work to go around, right? There's so many brands.
Yes. But
you have to stand out. You have got to find a way to stand out. So, thinking of something outside of the box to stand out it also is a good way to be able to add that extra income onto your sponsored posts or your, travel. Like maybe you pitch for a trip, and then you add on, like, I'll do Facebook Live or something, but then they need to pay you for those things. Or, just, I don't know, think of different ways to stand out and do different things.
Yes, to make it unique and add value to them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
No, I agree. Because I do think, it is saturated. Obviously, there are so many of us. And I always have people coming to me and saying, well, I'm pitching, but I'm not hearing anything. And it's not necessarily that they're not getting the email, but it is likely that there's so many emails that they're getting. So once you do get to the point where you have to put together a proposal, it has to be something that definitely sets you apart. Yes, absolutely.
I agree completely.
Well, Chrissy, thank you so, so much. This was fabulous. For everyone that is listening, please pop over. This is podcast 21, where you can actually download the pitch email that she sends out to anyone that she is reaching out to. And we will have that in the show notes that you're able to grab onto that. Tell us also, Chrissy, where else can they find you across social media? Is it just Taylor House, or what's the best?
So we're just the Taylor House across social media. I think we might be Taylor House blog on Twitter, but yeah, and then my website's the Taylor House. Yeah.
Perfect. So. And I am also going to...
Oh, and my travel Instagram page is Travel Done Right.
Perfect. So, I love that. Good. I don't even know if I'm following that yet.
I don't. It's all right. It's
totally
okay.
Hiding. And you do have something in the works as well that's going to be coming out pretty soon, right? And I'm lighting a fire under you by bringing it up.
Yeah, we're so close to being done. Yeah, we're going to have a travel, how to pitch for travel e-course that's coming out that'll show you exactly what you need to do to get ready, where to find the contacts, all the information you need so you can start pitching and traveling.
Perfect. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Thanks so much, Chrissy.
All right. Thank you.